Hello and welcome back to Eurofootball Daily, where today we're covering 10 disastrous starts to this current season. This could be grim. Let's get started. 10. Manchester United. Despite finishing second behind one of the Premier League's greatest ever teams and reaching the FA Cup final, last season was considered by many to be a failure for Manchester United. Bigger things were expected this season as Jose Mourinho entered his often ill-fated third season at the helm, but after his antics over the summer, the actual outcome could have been seen coming. The Red Devils started strongly enough with a 2-1 victory over Leicester, but they very quickly fell off the rails with back-to-back defeats. An away loss to Brighton was bad enough, and Mourinho and co faced some heavy criticism as a result. But following it up with a 3-0 loss at Old Trafford to fellow top-six side Spurs was not the reaction they wanted. United did bag an impressive 23 shots in that game, but having nothing to show for it displayed some clear deficiencies on the pitch. They've recovered somewhat in recent weeks, going 3 games unbeaten, although a draw at home to newly promoted Wolves still means the fan base is split over Mourinho. Considering they possess the attacking talent of Lukaku, Sanchez, Martial and Pogba amongst others, you would have expected them to have netted more than just 9 goals in their opening 6 games. That's 3 less than any of their rivals. They already find themselves 6 points down on where they were at this stage last season, a total that if they match this campaign, they'd surely find themselves in the conversation for the Premier League title. 9. FC Basel. Before surrendering their Super League title to Young Boys last season, FC Basel had won 8 Swiss championships in a row and 12 of the last 16 overall. So to already be 12 points off the pace after just 7 games of the new season is not a situation they would have expected to be in. It may not entirely be their fault though. The current champions have a 100% record as well as already opening up a 10-point lead over their nearest challengers. But a measly 2 wins to open their campaign shows a lot of room for improvement. The Rot-Blau have failed to finish the game with 11 men on 4 occasions so far this season. The rest of the league combined has only had 1 red card. And their woes don't end there. 12 goals in 7 games might be the 3rd best in the division. However, their top scorer Fabian Fry is actually a holding midfielder, something that surely isn't sustainable. Of the players you'd anticipate being at the top of the scoring charts, Dimitri Oberlin has yet to hit the back of the net, while Ricky van Wolfswinkel has just 2 to his name. To make matters worse, one of those came in a 7-1 demolition by Young Boys. Add to that an early exit from the Europa League, and nothing has gone right yet in northern Switzerland. 8. Lokomotiv Moscow. Lokomotiv Moscow claimed their first Russian Premier League title since 2004, and as a result gained automatic Champions League qualification, finding themselves in Pot 1 alongside the likes of Real Madrid, Juventus and Man City. It was a platform from which the Railroaders hoped to lay down some tracks for the future, but it has hardly gone to plan. One of 4 Moscow clubs, Lokomotiv spent big in the summer, at least by Russian standards, splashing close to 20 million euros. Half of that went on Fyodor Smolov, a player who had topped the Russian goal-scoring charts in 2 of the last 3 seasons, as they hope to improve on a ridiculously low 41 goals in 30 matches, despite their title triumph. In 5 starts, he has found the net just twice. That's a goal every 209 minutes. Not what you want from your leading man. Their record currently stands at just 2 victories and 9 points from their opening 7 games, and they already find themselves 13 points off league leaders Zenit St. Petersburg. Lokomotiv may have been slightly unfortunate so far, being in the top half of the table for shots per game with 12.6, pass completion of 79.7% and 51.5% possession. But as it stands, they're 2 points ahead of the relegation zone, and after losing their Champions League opener as well, it could be a dark season ahead. 7. Fenerbahce. Having won 6 more Super League titles than bitter rivals Galatasaray, Fenerbahce are the most successful side in Turkish football history. Despite being without a league title since 2014, they finished outside the top 3 just twice this century, and last season finished second with the best attacking record in the division. This campaign, however, paints a very different story. Last year's top scorer with a modest 15 goals, Giuliano left Istanbul for the Middle East. The departure of the Brazilian paved the way for the arrival of summer recruits Andre Ayew and Islam Slimani. They might be mid-table Premier League forwards at best, but clearly the Fener management thought they were capable of far more. That's not the case so far though. Andre's netted just twice this season and Islam once. None of these coming in either of their wins so far this season. Between them, that's a goal every 5.5 hours. Not good enough if you want to bring the title back to South Istanbul. There is some hope though. Unlike most of the leagues featured here, there is no runaway leader. Fenerbahce's total of 7 points is just 6 points off Turkish football's newest powerhouse, Istanbul Başakşehir. Adding to this a Europa League group featuring Dinamo Zagreb, Anderlecht and Spartak Trnava, there is plenty of opportunity to progress deep continentally as well as resurging at home too. 6. Monaco. Monaco have been the only club to topple PSG since Qatari money made its way to the French capital. And this season they again were expected to go toe-to-toe with Thomas Tuchel's Titans. It started well enough with a win away to Nantes, but Les Monégasques haven't tasted victory since then. Defeats to Bordeaux and Marseille may not be the greatest upsets, but failure to beat the likes of Lille, Toulouse and Nîmes, teams who finished 17th, 18th and 2nd in Ligue 2 respectively, means that Monaco have dropped a huge number of points in pursuit of any sort of title challenge. In fact, with PSG unsurprisingly having a 100% record, the gap between the two is already 12 points. That's only one less than the difference at the end of last season. They're averaging a shot less per game so far this campaign, just 11.8, and their shots on target has also fallen to just 3.7 per 90. Personnel changes have also seen other aspects of Monaco's game slip. Lamar averaged 1.8 key passes and Moutinho 1.7 key passes per 90. So far this season, just Ronnie Lopez with 2 a game matches that. From a defensive perspective, Yuri Tielemans with 3.5 tackles and interceptions each outing is closest to Liverpool benchwarmer Fabinho's 5.2 for the club last campaign. Maybe Les Rouges et Blancs are in somewhat of a transition phase, but a drop-off like this will surely see PSG run away with the title once more. 5. MOL VD. To date, MOL VD are the only Hungarian side to reach a European final, losing the 1985 UEFA Cup to Real Madrid. And in recent years, they've been the Maigar's greatest hope to challenge on a continental front. The club, who changed their name from Videoton over the summer, won the national championship last season, and were only one tie away from the Champions League group stages just a month ago. So to find them languishing in 8th place after 6th game in Hungary's 12-team top tier is nothing short of a disgrace. Their season got off to a bright start with a 4-0 win, but just one victory since then as well as 3 draws has seen them slip down the table. An embarrassing 2-1 defeat to their own academy side in the league, the Puskás Academy, who they beat on all 3 occasions in the league last season, shows the difference this campaign. Their front line consists of brothers Marko and Stefan Sepovic, the latter of which won the double with Celtic. But they've scored just 3 between them to open this campaign, which started back in mid-July. Having to combine the league this season with the Europa League group featuring Chelsea, PAOK and Bate Borisov might continue to hinder their title defence. 4. Roma. Despite appearing to be perennial title challengers, AS Roma have won Serie A just 3 times in their history, the last coming during Francesco Totti's golden years in 2001. The Italian top flight is only 5 games old, but already it looks like a foregone conclusion that La Lupa won't be making that 4 this season. Everything that could have gone wrong on the pitch for them this season pretty much has. A 90th minute Dzeko volley saw them win their opener, but since then they've both recovered from 2 goals down and thrown away a 2-goal lead for disappointing draws, as well as conceding a 95th minute winner to AC Milan and handing Bologna their first victory of the campaign. The most significant difference in their squad this year was Alisson moving on to Liverpool and Roma replacing him with Swedish stopper Robin Olsen. He's actually averaging 3.4 saves per 90, half a save more than his predecessor in the Giallorossi net. But the 16.6 shots a game they're conceding is over 5 more than last season, perhaps hinting at a more long-term issue with their defence. Either way, the real challenge for Roma now is just achieving Champions League qualification for another season. 3. Celtic. To the delight of Chris Hamill, Scottish football over the last decade has been little more than a procession before the inevitability of Celtic clinching the trophy in late March. And many anticipated the same again this time around as the boys look to win their 50th league title. 6 games in though, and they are hovering precariously above the league divide with 10 points. They have already suffered 2 defeats this term, half the amount they lost in the last 2 seasons combined, and consequently find themselves 6 points behind table-toppers Hearts at this early stage. They may have defeated old firm rivals Rangers, but also find themselves below their fierce enemies for the first time in over 2 years. There have been issues behind the scenes, most notably with Belgian centre-back Dedrick Boyata. The 27-year-old was accused of skipping matches as his side dropped from the Champions League into the Europa League, despite maintaining he was actually injured. Ultimately, this is the first time Brendan Rodgers has faced real pressure north of the border, and it remains to be seen if he can motivate Celtic to an 8th consecutive Scottish Premiership title. 2. Valencia. Only Real Madrid topped Valencia's €125 million spend over the summer, so you'd expect Los Che to make a start similar to last season's, where they went 13 games unbeaten and never left the Champions League places. That couldn't be further from what has actually happened. They have just 4 points and are without a win so far this campaign. Gonzalo Guedes has just 61 minutes to show for his €40 million transfer from PSG, whilst other key attacking signings Michy Batshuayi and Kevin Gamero are yet to get off the mark at the Mestalla. 3.4 shots on target per game puts them 5th worst in La Liga, and this is reflected by just 3 goals scored so far this season, compared to 9 at this stage last campaign. And it isn't set to get any easier for Los Murciélagos in the short term. They're set to face 2 teams also harbouring hopes of continental qualification in Celta Vigo and Real Sociedad, as well as Barcelona, and we all know what they can do. Add to this a tough Champions League group featuring Ronaldo's Juventus and Man United. If Valencia don't start picking up points soon, their season could be over before it even gets started. 1. Schalke. After falling to Bayern last weekend, Schalke are now one of only 4 clubs across all of Europe's top tiers who are yet to pick up a point this season. This is all the more surprising considering they had finished comfortably second in the Bundesliga and reached Champions League football for the first time in 4 years. To be fair to Die Koningsplan, they have had a tough fixture list to start the campaign, also facing Wolfsburg, Hertha Berlin and Borussia Mönchengladbach. However, if they are to repeat their performances from last term, getting results in matchups like these is a must. Just 2 goals from 51 attempts, one of which being a penalty, is a very poor return, and the likes of Guido Burgstaller and Jevgen Konoplyanka need to start finding their form from last season, where they contributed 19 goals between them. Tedesco's men have a few favourable fixtures on the horizon though to try and turn it around. Freiburg and newly promoted Fortuna Düsseldorf are also struggling at this very early stage, and if Schalke are to have any realistic chance of qualifying for Europe and making up a 7-point gap, they'll need to start winning these sorts of games very soon. So that was our top 10 of 10 disastrous starts to the season. Which one did you guys think is the worst and did we miss any out? Let us know in the comments down below. And if you've enjoyed this video, why don't you go check out all our other great content on EuroFootball Daily, including Continental Club, Stat Wars, and much, much more. And as ever, don't forget to like and subscribe.